Hey, everybody, this is Barry Mankin here with the Holistic Home Health Podcast. We're in our second series here with Nathan Copeland with Copeland & Son here in Nashville, Tennessee, and I thank you so much for being here again.
Glad to be here.
We're going to get in the weeds a little bit. We got a short amount of time. We had a huge first segment that was just like, it seemed like it just barely scratched the surface.
I know. I'm like, man, can I be on like 4 more times?
Right. Anytime. We're just nerding out here, okay?
Man.
So we love it. We love this stuff. But Nathan here is the best here in town at what he does from a performance standpoint, from an energy efficiency standpoint, and an air quality standpoint as it relates to mechanical, HVAC systems, et cetera. Combustion comes into that. We'll talk about 4 different solutions, and we'll get into combustion a little bit too. So we're going to try and blow through this, given our timeline.
Yeah.
So overview was really, really good. I think we got enough basics out of that. Let's get into some solutions. Once we talk about performance solutions, we have basically 4 different things. We're talking about, okay, next level filtration, other than your 1-inch filter, static pressure, all that sort of thing. But like when we want to deal with sensitized individuals, what's the best option out there for that? The other is some kind of active filtration, which I would call purification, when we're dealing with probes to prevent bacteria, fungal growth, et cetera, and maybe deliver some ionization, how that works. Then we'll get into moisture issues for the winter, talking about those things as it relates to keeping your humidity level in the house in that 45 to 55% range that we always talk about. And then fresh air makeup is huge with this, which comes into play with combustion in a lot of cases as well. How those things happen. Why don't where do you want to start? You want to start with filtration? It's probably the simplest thing we can do.
Yep.
So we talked about how sizing is a big part of that static pressure. And now if we want to get into advanced filtration, what does that look like?
So you're looking at MERV 16.
Okay.
So on a cabinet style filter. So that cabinet would have a W configuration on some of the larger filtration systems that are out there, and which also helps with static drop. So you won't have a big resistance on that type of filtration.
What does that mean?
So there are 4 filters inside that cabinet.
Okay.
In a W configuration.
Okay, that makes sense.
So those are going to last about a 3-year lifespan if you're not running fan all year round.
Okay.
So if you do, it just cuts it down by half. That type of filtration is going to be well into the 90-95% filtrate rate.
Yep.
At 0.03 microns.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. That's a dust-free 16. That John Ellis's filter on that. So
great numbers.
I have tested that, and it performs.
Yep.
So a best filter in the market that you can get today, I'm fully convinced it's his.
Okay.
Then it just trickles off from there. From there to you can go MERV 11 all the way down to 8. I've seen 6. Some of the 1-inch panels for that. It all goes into duct sizing for filtration selection. I like to start with that first one. Budget allows, let's go.
Yeah.
If not, then there's other. I wouldn't call them solutions, but there are other things that are out there that's better than nothing.
Every level of filtration has its own static pressure, which requires different size ductwork.
It sure does.
Right. So, which we talked about the first time, which is a huge thing that most people don't understand. If they don't go that route, this is where we talk to them about typically outboard filtration if they want performance as it relates to better air quality and just have their system operate the best that it can for the money.
You know what's bad about that, though, is I know what that MERV 16 can do. My expectations is here.
Yeah.
It is that expectations of the homeowner is also here as they step down in filtration.
Right.
And that's something that
it's setting expectations.
It's different. It's like, okay, well, I know you can't go here, but you can't expect that same level expectations here. It's just you're not going to get there.
No.
But I do see that. We've done some outboard type filtration if the budget doesn't allow for that to look at some standalones for smaller spaces too. So that's options that are there. Unfortunately, those are just, again, back to the long tail. I mean, good grief, the maintenance side of it is going to be so expensive.
Oh yeah.
You just got to be careful on what you select.
Yeah, if you can do it on the front end, it really it's the best way to go. It's the best way to go. So there's different levels of performance with different filters in line, but there's requirements when it's in line for sure. Right. I mean, there's even people that we've done in inner cities or people that are in the country that have maybe no budget for any of this stuff, and we like get them a Corsi Rosenthal, design and just say, hey, do this in your house, and some cases it's like, Section 8 housing or something like that, and they just don't have the money for any of it, or they're just renting. So that's the extreme this way, and then the other way, right? So
yeah, and what I've seen on the smaller ones too, like with on the ones you have to do the standalone, is tiny houses.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they have mini splits all in them. I can't go put that type of filtration. There's nowhere to put it.
It doesn't.
So that is the only option, is to do something like that.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to talk about, well, again, food and water. Everything goes to food and water in my life anyway. So that was a food. Right? There's different levels of performance with that. And then the water. So here's where I'll talk about, we already talked about performance before with the water and how that needs to work. What about the winter? Whenever we're trying to get our humidity levels in that range and we're heating our house and our relative humidity in the house just goes in the tank, now our viral content, loves dry conditions, and we have more debris in the air depending on our filtration that is available with more content. So we have a higher percentage of availability, and we have higher viability with the viruses. What's a way we can combat that in line? Other than, like, say they got like a 5,000 to 7,000 square foot house, not massive. Like the 1,000, they can just get a humidifier.
Tabletop one, yeah. Those are Petri dishes.
Yeah, right, true.
That's a good question. So looking at steam humidification for something like that, there's a product out there available to do up to 22 gallons per day, 240 volt. The thing that you have to really look at too is what will the house need, sizing something accordingly. I have seen homes so big we're having multiple steam humidification systems on a house just to meet that demand. But you have to look at the home too and go, okay, what kind of stack effect do we have on a house? What type of infiltration that's causing the dryness? I mean, I've measured in the teens in houses in the winter.
Yeah,
and that's worse than the Sahara Desert.
I have too. Yeah, awful.
And you're just wondering why people that sit stagnant in a house. All right, Saturday we're watching a movie. All right, you're on the couch and you're just going, man, alive, it's 72 over there on the thermostat, but I'm freezing. Well, the house is literally robbing the moisture off of you to replace it.
Correct. Yeah.
And so you have to look at that from all angles too.
Yeah,
so,
your heat goes with the moisture.
Another side we have to look at that we've seen is people that have grand pianos. Those dry out in the winter.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see those crack. You'll see crown molding crack in a house because of lack of humidity. And all of a sudden they're having to deal with that come springtime.
Yep.
Floors can separate.
And when they do, now you've got other air infiltration for the house that adds to the air quality issues.
Yeah.
Right? Depending on how the air currents are moving in the house, where the pressure of the house now has another place to draw from.
Yeah. So I just don't want the concept to be thought of, okay, I've got a drafty house, slap a steam humidifier on it, and we're good.
Good. Yep, that's right.
That's not.
That's a great point. Yeah. What are the effects of that?
You've got to look at everything else. Yeah.
That equal and opposite reaction thing.
Well,
right?
Even if they don't do anything about it, they go, okay, so what? It's leaking. I'm not going to worry about it. Well, at least that's documented that they just didn't want to fix it. Now we're looking at just steam humidification. So there are some things that need to be looked at, and boxes need to be checked before signing off on that, letting it go.
That's a good point. Now, and the other thing goes into like, okay, if the ducts aren't clean.
Oh, man. Yep.
Or if it's got any history in there, or sometimes they put the insulation inside.
Line duct work is the worst.
It's carpet, right? So again, if the food has a place to like sit and not leave, or if it's just dirty, it's food and water again. Now we're adding water for the right reasons, but we have the wrong conditions. So now we're going to grow something in the ductwork, so they have to be clean.
Well, you've seen duct board. We don't have it so much here. They do down in Florida.
Right. Which is crazy to me.
Right. That's a great idea.
Like, put it in the most humid climate.
It was on sale. I don't know. It's cheap, easy to put in. It's quick to put in.
Yeah.
But to your point, we've taken just not even steam, but we've taken bypass humidifiers off of duct board for that very reason. I mean, it's a sponge sitting on a kitchen sink.
It is.
Soaking all that up. So we have to look at every job differently to see, can this even be done? Crawl spaces are the hardest to put steam humidifiers in just because they're so tall to try to replicate that, make that happen.
Yeah.
As we could a basement.
Yeah.
It'd be a whole lot easier. But yeah, I mean, all that has to be looked at as a whole. Looking at what mechanical ventilation do we have on the house? that could cause that. I mean, are we running an 800 CFM kitchen hood,
right,
and causing that infiltration to happen in hopes that steam humidifier can make it up? Again, building these houses, we don't have. We'll call this fresh air makeup, man.
Yeah.
So I have seen recently, and this has been going on for a while, but nothing's changed. A 6-inch duct from the outside wall coming in.
Good. I was going to talk about this. Like,
underneath the cabinet in the kitchen with a toe kick. And guess what? Fresh air makeup.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it don't work.
So in Tennessee, when you open the window, is it fresh?
Good question. I have measured particulate count out in the country, and it is furthermore so done up that way with higher content with particle count than it is in the city. But it depends on a rainy day or not.
Exactly.
That can wash it down.
Food and water. Right. This is where we'll get into, let's talk about combustion air makeup specific.
Sure.
Because this is what I try to differentiate that. Most people think that, okay, the builder, especially if it's a newer house, the codes require this. So, which, you can, why don't you talk about that more, about what codes requires for combustion, and then we'll get into how that affects the air quality.
So there are some calculations that you could run to determine how much fresh air that you would need into a space based off the cubic feet, not so much square feet, but the cubic feet.
Yep.
To be able to calculate, all right, I have this much fresh air, combustion air for this appliance to burn properly and not cause a problem.
Right.
So I had a scenario that played out to where had we not done a combustion analysis on the furnace, we did it over duration, not just a one and done test. Yep, we're good. This is literally emission style testing as you're thinking on a car. Probe goes into the flue. We're measuring. We're timing that measurement. And you're watching everything else is set up properly. Gas pressure is where it's supposed to be. Your flue temp is where it's supposed to be. Your O2 is starting to drop. Your carbon monoxide content is starting to rise. And you have the cubic feet on calculation. And you're looking around going, well, now the unit kicked on. Well, what's the biggest vacuum in a mechanical space that you could have? Yeah. It's the blower.
Yeah.
Leaky ductwork is causing and robbing that space of its combustion air to be able to burn properly. So we've had to bring in fresh air makeup whenever that system comes on. Those fresh air makeup systems can take the place too to say, hey, now we can deliver that. Not everybody is going to want to do duct renovations and seal up all of that to help with that combustion air issue.
This is such a huge piece of what people don't understand in their house. I don't care if it's a new house, it's an old house. Everything is competing for pressure.
Yep.
And the air currents go where the pressure takes it.
It will.
And what's in that air from, in your point, it's combustion. Now you got issues. You get carbon monoxide poisoning. You don't have enough makeup or whatever you're bringing in. Now we got air quality issues. But the main thing with combustion is that, like, it's meant to go out. When you have a house that's not leaky and you have a tight house, it's how is the pressure reacting with, or another appliance reacting, to your point, with this appliance, to say, okay, we have everything in place, but we don't just assume that it's going out. I mean, the 3-2-10 rule with the stack over the sheething in the roof. If it's too close to the roof line, it's going to backdraft as well, or have a higher potential to backdraft, because it's got to be so far away from anything within, so many feet from it. So all of these factors are huge, which is why these inspections become more and more complex over time. But from a performance standpoint, I mean, this goes right to the health of the people that are in there.
It does. And there should be some things changed in how systems can be installed, especially when you come to, all right, so how many, we'll say 80% furnaces, metal vent, and you'll see it common vent in with a water heater. And which what that means is both venting systems attach and then terminate.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen that? Quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
What is to prevent that downdrafting on that water heater? Nothing. So for instance, when that flue gets blocked, whether it be the eddy current or whether it be just the wind itself, that furnace will still come on, run, it will exhaust everything, and then downdraft to the water heater that's in the same space. So with leaky ductwork, where do you think all that emissions goes from those appliances?
Yeah, exactly.
Into the house.
Right into the house.
This is where people get sick.
Yeah. And they don't think about that because everything looks good.
And
if it's sized, they size it for both of them to be on at the same time.
They do.
They don't size it for just one, which is always the water heater.
I know.
But when they heat, they have to heat up to a certain temperature in order for it to create the draft to pull it out. But if they're both not running, now we got an issue.
We do. I think common vents are just dangerous, just for that reason.
Agree. Absolutely.
I wish they were illegal. I feel the same way about ventless logs. I wish these are faux. These are our faux logs. So
it's pretty warm.
Yeah, right.
I'm feeling kind of cozy.
Burnt.
Yeah.
But same thing. All the emissions from that goes into the space.
Yeah.
Here's what's crazy.
But they say it's 90 whatever percent efficient. What does that mean?
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, they tell you that it's going to burn it off, and then it's not going to affect you.
Yeah, that's not true. What's crazy is, so talking about combustion, ventless fireplaces, 40,000 BTU fireplace, can be vented into the space. Mm-hmm. A 40,000 BTU water heater cannot be vented into the
Correct.
space.
Interesting.
It makes sense, don't it?
No.
That's why I wish they were illegal.
I always tell people, like, okay, this is not for heat, guys. This is not for heat. No. If you've got a party, if you're having and then there's too many people, now you got other issues with carbon dioxide. But open things up,
right? Use
it for a little ambience, and that's it.
That's it. And they stink bad.
Oh, they do, because they're never clean. No. Especially the first time you fire them up for the year.
Oh man, yeah. Nobody cleans those.
No, you're right. Fine. Yeah.
I'll give you another example. So, stack effect on a house.
Yep.
Second floor. You've seen an 80% furnace and a closet. Mm-hmm. There's two pipes hanging out of the ceiling. Mm-hmm. One goes to the floor.
Yep.
One is barely hanging out of the ceiling. Mm-hmm. In theory, on paper, that longer pipe is supposed to allow that fresh air to come in to combust.
Right.
And the top is there if needed for an exhaust.
Right.
Somebody forgot to draw the arrows on the pipe.
Right.
They both connect as an exhaust. Now the closet's gone into negative pressure with the blower that's leaky, with the inducer motor.
Just from human error.
It's why it's dangerous. And it's just, and you know what's crazy? That meets code.
It does. That's correct.
And
so this is where induction is important, and getting true fresh air makeup. So I know I'm kind of rushing through here. The difference between combustion air makeup and how that's delivered is huge. Again, how is everything. But now, if it's truly fresh air makeup, in Tennessee, we're talking about filtration from the outside. Right. We're talking about the rate of that delivery, which, there's different options with that. And then we're talking about dehumidification with a ventilator. Explain that.
So 3 different ways we can go about it. Well, we'll make it 4. We'll start off with the new construction one that I just mentioned. Okay. We'll call that a fresh air makeup duct. Okay. It's a duct that goes outside.
Yeah.
So that would be there's no filter to catch anything.
Okay.
There's no dehumidification to lower that humidity level. It is literally whatever's outside is now inside.
Yep.
It's no different. Open a window.
See it all the time.
Okay.
That's code, right?
Also true.
Yeah.
That's one way.
Okay.
Another way is ERV, energy recovery ventilator.
Okay.
You're bringing in outside air, crossing it a core, picking up some of picking up some of that, bring it into the house. Mm. Another one is a heat recovery ventilator. You won't see many of those around here.
Yeah, more up north.
More up north.
Yeah.
Not a fan either. To maintain those, you have to change the core out every so often.
Oh yeah, they have high failure rate.
Yeah, and you have washable filters in those ERVs, HRVs. Who's going to do that?
Nobody knows.
Then you have the one I'm convinced of. Get the filtration in place first, drop that particle count, and then running it through the dehumidifier, lowering the humidity, and then bringing it in. I like to do that into John's filter at that point. So
this filter is...
Well,
we talked about it, I think, on the last episode, right?
Yeah, this is the dust-free 16.
Okay.
So that would catch whatever else could not be. Because, the dehumidification systems, they have their own internal filters, too, to keep that coil clean at that point.
Right.
Some are washable, some are replaceable.
Right.
So that has to be a maintenance thing on it. But I would rather do it that way. At least, therefore, you can control the particle count. You can drop the humidity count before you bring it in to the return side.
Right.
So it's just at least dry, clean air, fresh air makeup.
Okay.
And so there's plenty of controls from Honeywell that you can set up to do timed, or if you're wanting it like a continuous type setup, it can do that.
Okay.
And these systems are, mean, you're looking at 100 pints per day if you need be.
Yeah.
For humidity removal.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Right.
As far as I know, Santa Fe has one. April Air has their own version of that. So that's about the only two heavy hitters I know that would do fresh air makeup. I've seen some other ones that are out there that will do something similar to an ERV with just filtration only. Mm-hmm. They've got just their own internal fan, filter, then running it through, but we're not taking care of the humidity.
Correct. Well, so that's big here.
Well, it is. So you're at mid-July.
Yeah.
Decides to rain for 3 days straight. You know, what are we doing?
Yeah, there's so much moisture available outside here.
We don't need any more.
Oh, yeah. Correct.
We've had enough rain. I think we're good.
Yeah, exactly. So let me get this straight. So we're going to bring out outside air that is fresh and actually make it fresh.
Yes.
So we're going to filter it. We're going to have a dehumidifier. We're going to mix that air with the internal air, right?
Yep.
So that we stay away from dew point because it's such a temperature differential.
It is.
Right? So other than the available moisture and the rate that it dehumidifies, that helps keep us away from that so that we're not introducing excess moisture into the system.
Right.
So we're truly dehumidifying it, mixing it, getting that as efficient as possible just with the outside air, and then delivering that to our HVAC at that point. Now, how that's delivered, I think there's two different ways to do that. There's a timer, like we said, to do like a rate every 15 minutes just for fresh air or something.
Right.
But there's also pressure that we can add to that. And I think our friend is also a fan of that too, to create positive pressure. 5 to 10 pascals to where we have like just an induction fan of some sort that maybe is like on is it a relay to where that shuts off whenever the system is on to pull it, and then it's back on. If I understood from John correctly, that's what he likes to do.
Yeah. And
that's what I'm a fan of.
Yeah. And I like April Air because you bring your thermostat controls into the April Air. So you have multiple settings to where even if you wanted to do, fresh air that way, but you wanted to shut off that dehumidification while the AC is running, you can do that, or you can allow it.
Yeah.
You can, there's so many different ways to set that up.
You lose a little energy,
Yeah.
but you gain so much air quality.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So this is where it gets in the weeds here with these types of systems are a lot more complex, but I think we're going to see these a lot more often because I'm promoting them all the time.
What I'm scared of on my side is if the government ever decides to step in and force fresh air makeup systems to a point of this level and contractors still not having a clue what they're doing.
You're right.
And then we're going, well, what are we doing now?
Yeah, and this climate versus this climate. You have to know your climate. That's everything.
Well, and code requires us fresh air makeup into houses now. And I've seen some new construction jobs. Instead of bringing that 6-inch duct underneath the cabinet, they're actually bringing it in, running it through a cut down 20 by 20 filter with scissors, shoving it into a 12 by 12 cabinet, and you're putting that on a damper with a timer. And I'm just thinking, man, these houses aren't even a year old, and I'm pulling these out.
Oh, and it's dirty sock syndrome right away.
It is. And you talk to the homeowner, and they're like, hey, if they ever told you about this, nope. Nobody's told me anything at all.
They don't even go in their attic or crawl space anyway because they put it where it's the least amount of excess.
No, so it's like, okay, so we've made a code for fresh air makeup, and we're sizing systems a little bit maybe over to compensate for that.
Right.
But we're bringing in so much of what's going to go through that filter because these are just cheap filters they're getting at Walmart.
Exactly.
And they're throwing them in there, and they're not even sealed. They're just a metal sleeve door that slides on there with tabs you fold over.
Right.
That's the right thing to do.
And then everything just gets in right in with it, drafts right in, all the debris from the non-controlled spaces.
I don't know. It's like we were trying to solve a problem with a solution, but we've created another problem.
Yeah.
And it's like, great.
That's what we've been talking about both these episodes. It's like equal and opposite rate. Just because we have this level of intention doesn't cover all these things. There's always another reaction to what we do, and we have to make sure that we look at all those potentials and at least know what our limitations are. It's always Clint Eastwood. And outside of that, we have to know, okay, not only what are our limitations with those things, but what are the consequences of doing this, and can I live with those consequences? It's
going back to looking at fresh air based off negative pressure on a house. Mm-hmm. Will always be hard to chase. Mm-hmm. So
But this is what I love of pressure so much. If
Yeah.
you're doing pressure, it fixes so many things other than just
It does.
the fresh air. I mean, it's such a great advantage.
I would love to see a standard house, whatever that means, to where when a house goes negative pressure, that something was available to measure that Pascal that we're shooting for drop to then bring that on. And here's why it can't be a one size fits all thing. Not all houses are sealed.
Correct.
Not all houses are leaky. So
Right.
for instance, you go to a leaky house with this one solution, it'll never trigger.
Right.
It won't pull hard enough against it.
Right.
So where a house that's sealed, you close the door too fast.
Yeah.
And it could pull that down. And it's like,
Yeah. That's why we talk about the whole, a prescription without a good diagnosis is malpractice.
oh, I agree.
And we're in the diagnosis business.
Yeah.
So and you do prescription too, but it's different. In your industry, you have the training and the calculations at such a high level of performance. You're the surgeon. I always tell everybody if they want a race car, they're getting Nathan Copeland and you're a car guy too, so it kind of fits. But that's that level of performance. I mean, it's so important to understand if you're not going to do something when we get into health issues in a home, we have to understand the trade-off, and that's where we're not educated very well. Is to say, okay, I'm going to do something with good intention. I'm going to try to get a better filter, whatever the case is, or we have fresh air makeup, but we don't think of all the things that go around this and all the potentials of other influences, and our houses can be dangerous, right? But the only way you really get satisfied, again, it's the extremes that work. The middle doesn't work, from an air quality standpoint. And if we can measure all that stuff with good diagnosis and then offer solutions like this, in some cases they seem complex, but you do them every day. And you do them with such success. Like we go in on the backside of these things and go, man, this house feels great. We can measure it and say, look at the numbers, because the numbers don't lie.
Right.
And if the numbers are there, the people should be healthy.
Yes. And we have the technology, and our guys are equipped with this too. The first time I got to use this, went out to a job. It was a long wrench. Ended up running a Measure Quick on it. Mm-hmm. It's a Measure Quick shout out. And we put 9 sensors on that system, and we scored a 59D. And this house was maybe 10 years old.
Yeah. Tell me what that score, what does that mean?
So A through F fail, pass fail.
Okay.
So 59 was the percentage of efficiency of that system. It was a package unit, 5-ton, zone system. Mm-hmm. Both zones are calling. Ran our testing on it, 59. Mm-hmm. What was cool for my guys to see was they did the post-testing. I didn't do the post-testing. Mm-hmm. So they saw the pre-test, 59D. We got the work done. They went back in, day of commission, and they scored 100% A. And they were able to show that to the homeowner. And this is all data entry. We don't enter anything whatsoever. So I can't fudge the report if I wanted to.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So just whatever that comes out to be, it is what it is.
Right, yeah.
On the other side is when designing all that, I have LiDAR technology that I'm able to just map the entire house to be able to design a system that will work properly for that home. And not having to go back to graph paper and draw all this stuff out. I was able to scan a 3D model of the home and then design it based off of that, and that's through Conduit Tech. So shout out to them.
Yeah.
But for these, technology is to a point now to where we're able just to use these type of things.
We can see everything.
Oh, we can.
Yeah.
Well, what I love about it, though, is the transparency for my side.
Right.
I'm not trying to do anything to say, hey, yeah, we did a great job, pat ourselves on the back, but we were bragging on the install guys because they're the guys that did the installation, not me.
Yeah.
Give those guys the credit where credit's
They
due.
did their job.
But they got to go home going, man, I rocked that. I'm like, yeah, you did. You guys did a great job. But
That's awesome.
We're able to show those reports as far as that goes. And just, earlier I was talking about the job that we've been working on for a while, trying to help this guy get where he's at. Every time that the other company went and did a fix on that system,
right.
Guess what we used?
Yeah.
Measure Quick.
Yeah.
Didn't lie.
Right.
And still missed the mark.
Yeah.
It's just like, had we not had that, there could be a lot of, not to say we would do that whatsoever, but it's just going, you give the opportunity for doubt if you can't have full transparency.
Right.
I don't want that whatsoever.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk about one last thing here real quick. We'll just touch on it and we'll be done here. But This has been so huge. So we've talked about combustion. We've talked about fresh air makeup. We've talked about filtration, purification. That's another thing that we do as it relates to probes. Typically is where it starts with HVAC, right? Mm-hmm. So getting some technology in there. What is the different types? What does that do here? Just within a quick blurb.
So if you're looking at surface treatment, ultraviolet lighting to do it. Mm-hmm. I'm fully convinced that works.
Okay.
I've seen results happen over a 6-month period. Carrier came out years ago with theirs, and a guy had the option to either change the air handler out. It was so badly infested with microbial growth versus, hey, let's just give this a go. I mean, this was like early 2000s.
Yeah.
So 6 months later, I go back out to do the service work, crack the door open, and man, I'm like, what did you do to it?
Yeah,
right. I hadn't touched it.
Right.
All this cleaned up. I mean, so it's like I know that technology works. Mm-hmm. Something that's newer for our industry is bipolar ionization. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at clusters of ions that are just attaching one another, becoming heavier, landing on those horizontal surfaces, or being able to be captured at the filter.
That's great. And so there's different levels of that stuff.
There is.
And different types of technology has different efficacy. So the more you combine, if I'm hearing that, then the better it's going to work. So,
well, a term that you use quite a bit that I've picked up on using too is offense and defense.
Yeah.
And man, I think that's fabulous. I'm a big football guy, you know.
Right.
I love college, can't wait for college ball. But anyway,
Tennessee.
You know, looking at if you have that filtration, you have that part of it, you have that air purification side of it too. That's like getting the best of both worlds. Now, whatever is in the air, because infiltration will happen.
Right.
People have dogs.
Yeah, you open the door, you got infiltration.
You got it. So if you can attack it from that side, land it on a filter surface, keep it from breathing all that kind of things like that, that's where we're going to see
a little bit of infiltration or a little bit of offense, a whole lot of defense.
Yes.
And then management, monitoring, preventative maintenance, all of those things, we get a healthy home.
Yep. That's the goal.
Nathan, I can't thank you enough. The time has just flown.
It has. I can't believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's obviously, we could go way down the weeds here farther, but just with our timeline, I just want to say thank you. We'll have you on again.
Thank you.
And we'll do something here with, at the end of the year, we're going to bring everybody in. That's my goal here. That'd be kind of fun too.
Yep.
But Myra, thank you so much Myra's been here typing away all the information and getting everything ready for our socials. But we've had just a great time. When it comes to the summer, call this guy. All right. Thank you so much.